Hi, I recently posted an elevator design to the Minecraft subreddit and a lot of people asked me to make a tutorial. So here it is. This is a bit different design than the one I showed, but it's also a lot smaller and it's quite faster. So I'll explain everything in detail along the way, so don't worry. The idea is quite simple. The elevator uses soulstone to push you up and magma blocks to pull you down or block you if you're already going up. So if you want to go to the third floor, we press this button and we go up. This is the third floor. And we go to the second floor, we go down, and it works quite fast, so we go up, and we can go down again. The delay is almost non-existent, so you don't have to worry about it, but if you press the button really fast and try to go down, it may push up, but for a very brief moment. So obviously the most important part are the connections, and I'll explain them shortly. This is a very small part of the elevator that I'll be using to show you how it works. So this one here is what's actually in there, but this is not reliable because it's a 0-tick flip-flop and it does not always work. It depends on location. I'm not sure how it works, but well, this should be reliable because it's actually this comparator and redstone repeater, so this should work 100% of times. So this button is obviously the button on each floor, and this is the pressure plate that the player steps on when he leaves the elevator. So if you press this button, this magma block will extend really fast and hide really fast. And this pressure plate will only retract it. So how it works. As I said, this is a 0-tick flip-flop, so when this button powers this dust, it goes up and down, and it's important to note that whenever I use red glass, it means that there has to be a glass here. It doesn't have to be red, but it has to be glass or something other transparent. Blue glass means that it's just decorative. So this this button powers this dust, and this repeater will power this piston and this piston, but at the very same time, in the same tick, this comparator will push this piston and cut the power off. So this magma block will stay here because this piston will be powered, well, for 0 ticks. It will be extended and retracted in the same tick. So it just leaves the magma block here, and the same goes for this block. So as you can see, the magma block is extended, and right now, if we press this pressure plate, the signal will go up there. This glass is important, but I will explain it later. The power goes here. It powers this redstone repeater, and the power goes through, and it powers the system. But if it is hidden, the magma block is hidden. Oops. This block is also pushed, and the power does not go through. This is 3 floors stacked on top of each other, and as you can see, this on lower levels, this redstone dust will also power this redstone torch, that will power this redstone torch, and this will power this floor if this block is here. So for example, I will show you how it works. So this magma block is extended, and this should never happen in the real elevator, but I'll just show you. So this hides this one and this one, and as you can see, if I press all 3, it will only hide these two and not this one. This is very important because if it hid all of them, then if you pressed a button to go up and stepped on this pressure plate, you would go up, but this block would be hidden, so you would go all the way up. And now it's also important to note that you can go to this floor either from below or from above. So if you go from below, this magma block will be extended and you will have to hide it, and if you go from above, this magma block will be extended and you will also have to hide it. So I'll show you how to build it in a second. I'll begin with the pressure plate. So it looks like this. redstone dust, glass, and a block here. It has to be here. It can't be there because otherwise the power will not go down. It can only go up like this. So the block has to be here. Well, obviously it can go at the same level, but it can only go up or at the same level but not down. So now redstone repeater here. They don't have to be delayed. And a block here, and another redstone repeater here. And now redstone powder. Some blocks. And a glass here. It's very important that the glass is here because the signal can go up, as I said earlier, and the glass also permits the signal to go down, so it essentially splits into two signals. So now we have to place the blocks and the redstone repeater here, 0 delay, and a comparator like this, and piston, and a block. So how it works, the repeater will power this block, and later in the same tick this comparator will power this piston. So this is how the zero tick mechanic works. So now we have to place two pistons like this, and our magma block goes here, or actually here for now. I'll explain in a second. So basically this floor is finished. As you can see, it works perfectly, and the special plate will hide it. So why this magma block had to be here? Because while this is extended, this has to be retracted. Otherwise the pressure plate will only extend the piston, and we don't want that. We want it to hide and only hide. So now we have to connect other floors because as I said earlier, this pressure plate has to hide this and this piston. So we can do this like this. We place a block here and a torch here, another block with a torch, and this is the same block as this one. So if this is retracted, this means that this magma block, that is one above, is extended. So if it is extended, the signal will go through this torch to this repeater, but like here, and it will power the system. But if the magma block here is retracted, this one is extended and the power will not go through. And it will also not go backwards, so it will not power other floors, only the next one. So again, like this, and like this, and glass here. This is right now, this is basically the same, but I'll show it to you anyways. Repeater and comparator, piston, and magma block, and obviously there has to be a repeater here and the pressure plate, and this has to be glass. I'll explain why this has to be glass later, but for now just believe me that it has to be glass, otherwise it will break really badly. So okay, this doesn't extend, that's nice, and this button works, it's fine, and well, this doesn't extend still, but it will retract, nice. And we'll just test this one. So both are extended, and this should retract both of them. Okay, that's great. So this is the mechanism that will power the pistons. Now we'll build the spine of the elevator. So I've got the basic structure in place because it doesn't require any explaining. I will note that these floors don't have to be one block apart. They can be at various levels, and the difference can be different each time. The only problem is that you will have to connect it a bit differently, but when I'll show you how this works, I'm sure you will be able to do it quite easily. So we'll build our tunnel first, and it begins with a soulstone block down here and a magma block here. So this is our first magma block, this is our first floor. I also like to color them so it can be easier to connect them later. You could use any colors you want, but well, I'll use glass so it's more transparent and visible to you. And right now, I also didn't mention this, but each of this water block has to be a source block, because otherwise this water will not transmit those bubbles and the elevator will not work, because the salt sand will not push you or the magma block will not pull you. So when this magma block extends and goes here and then retracts, this source block is gone, so you have to refill it. So we can place source block here and here, and they will just renew it, right? So we have a little pool like this. The water will go here and here, and as you can see, it will also it will always renew it. But for now, I will get rid of it so it doesn't spill out. And right now, we can have a little wall here, and this pressure plate will power this redstone dust. But you can, as you can see, this creates a problem because there has to be water here and it will spill out and destroy this redstone dust. So how do we prevent this? Well, one way to do it, I think it's the easiest one, or I like it the best, is to place a trapdoor here, and it will work just fine. The water will be here and it will, well, behave just like a normal source block. But we have to, well, close it. And this is the glass that this is the red one that I showed. This glass is this glass. I will build this thing there in a second, but let me build the body first. So why this has to be glass? Because if it was any other block and we stepped on this pressure plate and then stepped off, wait, this is not connected, I'm sorry. If we stepped on this pressure plate and then we leave it, this will open and, well, the water will spill. But if this is glass, and this has to be closed, if this is glass, this will not happen because glass does not transmit power to this trapdoor. So the tunnel is pretty simple. It goes like this, and there's a source block. There are source blocks at each level. This there will be a redstone here like this, and this is glass, and there will be magma block here, and we have to close it like this. So it will look like this at each floor. I think we'll get it. I will just finish it off screen. So now that we finished this tunnel, I will quickly build this thing here. I won't really comment this because I've already showed this, and if you know how to build this here, just skip to the timestamp that will show in the video. So it goes like this, and a glass here. And block here, repeater, comparator, and two pistons. One here, one here, and this has to be extended at first. Okay, so this is done, and I'll quickly build the another floor. So it goes like this, this, repeater here, and just like the first one. It's not that complicated. So a piston here and here, and for each floor you will have to well, wait, we have to add these things here. Okay, so for each floor that you'll have to build these torches like this, and just this system again and again and again. And on the top floor you don't have to place those torches because, well, there's only one magma block at the very top. There's nothing here, so you don't have to hide it. So I'll again build the rest of it off screen, and then we'll go to the connections. So this should be finished. As you can see, this is the same T flip-flop mechanism as there on each floor, and those torches that are connecting them. So now we have to think how we want to connect everything. I'll begin with placing the buttons. And on the first floor you don't need this button because we are already on the first floor, we don't need to go there. And the same goes for the second floor, we don't need the second button, and so on, like this. And at the very top we can have all buttons, because this elevator is actually 7 floors, it's not 6. But if you want to go to the very top, we can just hop in and go up, and nothing will block us. We can go from any floor, nothing will block us. We'll just go up and we'll live here. And if we want to go to either of these 6 floors from the very top, we just press any button. So now we have to split these buttons into separate connections. So you also have to think which piston we want to power with each button. If we are on the first floor and we want to go to the second floor, we want to power this piston, right? Not this one, not this one, this one here. Because if we hop in, we will go up and this will block us. So the red one. So I like to color this red, like this. This is like this. And I'll use redstone already here. Or maybe not. And if you want to go to the third floor, we want to extend this piston, right? So I don't have it on me. Okay. So we need to place this. Oh wait, this is the other way around. We'll place the magenta one here and the red one here. And also this button that is here will not power this redstone dust, right? We have to place something here, but this will block this redstone dust, so we can just use glass, right? And this red glass, because, well, it has to be here because of this thing, and we also have to cut this connection like this, but I will not be using dust right now, so I'll just leave it here. And it's the same thing, it will be pretty much the same on each floor, but in different places. So this panel is done. Now, fourth floor. We want to go here, so we want to extend from below. So we want to extend this yellow piston, right? So we place yellow concrete here. Then fifth, we want orange, like this, and there's nothing here, so we can just place it just like this. And the next to last one is brown. And for the second floor, I'll do the first, I'll actually maybe do all floors. So this floor, if you want to go to this first one, we have to extend this blue piston. Second floor, we don't have to do nothing. And this one, we want to extend this one. Okay, I'll do this side first. So like the same thing here, like this, glass here, and something here. And this one is, there's nothing here, so there has to be nothing here. But from now on, it will be all the same. Okay, so we're done with this side, and now we have to do this side, right? So as you can see, the first few floors will be the same, and now it will be a bit different because it's still orange here and brown here, but there's no yellow here. Right, because we don't have to go to this floor, and there's no button here anyway. And then this floor, if you want to go here, we need this magenta one. So this is one too high. Okay, so we're back, and this has to be, wait, not this one, this one. This has to be the magenta, and this has to be orange, right? And actually no, there's nothing here, so we won't place anything here, and this has to be brown. And on this floor, it's again magenta. It's not orange, it's actually yellow here, because if we want to go to this floor, we need this yellow piston, and brown at the end, no brown, because we just go up. On the last floor, it's again like this, and orange like this. Okay, so the connections are done. I've also repainted those blocks here so it's easier to know where we have to connect each wire. And now we are halfway done, really. All we have to do is connect these buttons to the corresponding piston. And you could do that in a very, very simple way. That is probably the first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to things like this. And it just good old negation. And well, it works, but it's slow. It takes up some space, and it's also very easy for the power to leak, because we can't just place them next to each other, because, well, this doesn't work. So what I've came up with is this. Now, this may look a bit larger, but it's actually, this thing here is the most important bit, because these things would have to be in the system anyway. So pretty much this is the only thing that matters. So how this works? When you press button, or well, this is any button, right? When we press this button, this piston will be extended, and this observer will notice this, send signal to this piston. This is a sticky piston. This piston will push this block here. This observer will be notified, and it goes up. The signal goes up, right? And when it reaches here, this observer will send a pulse, and this pulse will actually extend and retract this piston really fast. So the redstone block will stay here for a second, and this will send one continuous signal, and then when this pulse ends, this piston retracts, and this sends another pulse because this block updated again, and this redstone block is retracted again, and the pulse ends. So I will show it from here, because this place is exactly the same. This piston notifies this observer, this piston notifies this observer, and from above it's the same but reversed. So if you press this button, you can see this works quite nicely, and it's also actually quite fast, because I'll show you the comparison between different kinds of signal transportations. So this is the negation that goes up. This is just observers. It's actually a bit faster than the negation, but not fast enough. And this is the thing we'll be using. And this is this is really fast, but it uses slime blocks, and it does not allow for multiple inputs from different levels. only every 12 blocks. So if you need to transport a signal from below to the top really fast and it doesn't matter, you can use this because it's really fast. I'll show you in a second. And this thing here is pretty much instantaneous because it uses the zero-tick retraction mechanic, and this doesn't work. But as you can see, this is really fast, this one, but this is a lot faster than these two. So this is why we're using it. So now we have to extend those connections a bit, because if you tried to place this mechanism here, it could have some power leakages, and it's just isn't worth it. It's just easier to extend this one block further. So now we'll have to place a piston here. So we don't actually have to extend this like this. You just can't really place the piston here. And we placed pistons like this and connected, not this here, like this. Okay, and now we'll begin from the top. This is the same thing as there, right? This piston updates this block, this observer sends a pulse, and it goes down like this. Okay, so it's done. It's the same thing as there. As I said, either of these pistons will update these blocks and the signal will be pushed down. So now we have to place an observer here that will detect this piston, and it will send a pulse like this. And here we can place a redstone block, and when this piston extends, this redstone block will power this T flip-flop, and the magma block will be pushed. We can test this. I think it should work. I'll show you how it works from the outside. So you can see, as you can see, the signal is going down to this piston and the pulse is being sent. Okay, so now we have to connect other floors, other buttons. I'll begin with the blue one now, because it's also quite easy, because this is easy because it's the one that is closest to these connections, and then the blue one is easy because it's continuous, right? It is not cut anywhere. Because for example, this red one is missing here, and then it's in a different place here. But it's still easy to connect. I'll show you in a second. So we can just connect like this. Also, we have to wait. This is not right. Okay. It's important to note that this redstone dust will not power this piston, as you can see. It's really nice that it doesn't do that, because otherwise these connections would be really hard to do. And okay, so now it's pretty much the same. Okay, so I've finished this connection, and now we have to somehow connect this bit here. So you can just make another piston like this, and an observer here. Not this way, this way. Okay, so this observer will power this thing here, and we can actually do something like this. This will still work, as you can see, and we can place a redstone block here, and I think it doesn't matter really. I just like to keep it tight, like here. This is a bit different design, so it looks a bit different, don't worry, but as I said, this one was unreliable because it didn't really work anywhere. Here it works, but in some other place it might not. Okay, so we now have to place dust, and it should work. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's do the road connection. Okay, so this is done, and we'll now place. Okay, let's not do this right now. This should extend like this, and then we have to make another connection that goes upwards like this. Okay, now it's a bit tricky, but it's solved because we have these two pistons that, well, they don't just update this one block, they update either this or this, but we can just place two observers like this, and it will work just fine. As you can see, if we place redstone dust here, this powers this, and this powers this redstone dust. Okay, so now we have to somehow connect this. We can do it like this, I guess. It shouldn't really matter, as long as this power dust, redstone dust doesn't power up anything else, and only this piston. This should work. So now we have to place redstone dust. Okay, so this should work. This is probably not connected or something. Why does this not work? Okay, so it's not always going to work at the beginning because, well, things happen. We just need to debug it. Okay, so the power just doesn't go there for some reason. Ah, well, I don't have redstone dust here. Now it should work. Yep. So mistakes like this will happen probably when you build this, because there's a lot of tight spaces. This is why I use colors, because it's easier to debug them. Okay, so the red connection should be finished as well. Okay, so now we have to do the magenta one. So you sometimes have to be creative with how you want these connections to end, because they don't always end where you want them to. Again, it's important that it just doesn't, these observers don't power anything else, and only this piston and you should be fine, because it really doesn't matter. Okay, so this side is done, actually. Wait. Okay, so something doesn't work again. Let's try to debug it. Oh, we don't have redstone piece here. See, it's really easy to forget about things like this. Okay, so now we have to do this side. And it's really, if you know what you're doing, you can just skip this video and just do it yourself, because, well, it's basically exactly the same thing, but I'll show it anyway for those that just want to make sure that they're doing things right. So I will again begin with the orange one because it's the closest one and it's the easiest this way. Okay, so here I can actually do something like this, and you could place those pistons here and try to save one block of space, but it could get messy around here, so I don't think it's worth it really. It's just one though. If you want to, you can try. Okay, so now we can have something like this. Again, you have to be creative because this doesn't require a sticky piston with a block on top of it. It can be just a regular piston. And again, you can just power it like this. And this will work perfectly fine, as you can see. And this will work because this redstone will go up, because this is a transparent block, and when it goes up, it can go up again. So it really just works the same way. As you can see, it doesn't matter. Now we have to do the other connections. And here we can do the same thing as we did with the red one. Okay, now the brown one. Okay, so the brown one is completed, and again we had to be a bit creative, but it should work just fine. As you can see, it extends and it retracts beautifully. Okay, and the last one is magenta, and this is again really easy because it's just 3 connections here, and well, we'll be finished. Okay, now let's test this thing. Let's say we want to go here. Okay, that should work. Wait, something. Okay, something is wrong here because it goes to the 5th floor, so this one, and that works just fine. Wait, let's reset all of those. Okay, so this works fine. And okay, so it was something else, whatever. And okay, now let's go here. Okay, so it's not connected. Let's see. Oh yeah, this should be an observer instead. And we can, I guess, not to change other things, we can just do it like this. Doesn't really matter. This one we tested. Okay, beautiful. Let's try this floor. It's a bit loud, but I don't think it matters that much. Okay. Okay, nice. I think this should work because we tested those floors. We tested the left one, I think. Okay, whatever, but I think this should work. We tested it enough, and if anything comes up, you know how to check it. You just have to the best way to do it is just place a button over here somewhere and just look at the signal going and see where it fails. So this is my way of testing this thing. Now we have to place not buttons, but signs. Okay, and this is it. The elevator is done, and let's just test it. I'll build some platforms so it's easier to stand. Okay, let's go to the 6th floor. We can just go up. And let's go to the 2nd floor. So there's some delay. I'm not sure why, but if you go up, there's no delay because we can just step in and we'll go up, and this piston will be fast enough to block us, even if we want to go to the next floor like this. This is fast enough. If you want to go down, it shouldn't be delayed, but if you're fast enough, you can just be pushed up a little bit. So you have to be careful not to be too fast. Okay, so let's go here. Let's go here. Let's go to the 1st floor. And no, I don't know. This one. Okay, to the top. And as you can see, the pressure plates are working really nicely. They retract all those pistons really effortlessly. And even if you go up, like, I don't know, like this, and you try to go out, you will always land on top of this pressure plate, so you don't have to worry. You are just too slow not to land on it, and it will always retract it. So this is it. This is the elevator.